Any toxic behavior written, narrated, or illustrated in this piece is not condoned by the author, the narrator, and the artist in real life. This was purely written and created for fictional horror writing purposes. It contains triggering content that may be uncomfortable. Viewer discretion is advised. Don't worry, Abastus. We'll find help soon. You say to your familiar, your own doubts creeping in as you continue through the winter forest. Recently, you and your class had taken a trip from UA all the way to a small town in America, where you were supposed to receive training under one of Mr. Aizawa's old underground hero buddies. It was all going pretty well, until Mr. Aizawa's friend didn't show up. And so to pass the time, he decided to split the class into two teams: heroes and villains. The game's goal was for the heroes to hunt the villains through a forest to test the people who were the heroes in their ability to capture a fleeing villain, and push the people who were villains in their endurance under certain circumstances. Since you were a late arrival to Class 1A, you were student number 21, so you had to draw a straw to decide which team you were on, to which you were put on Team Villain. Your team was then given a 5-minute head start, so after quickly navigating through the forest for a while via riding on top of your familiar Quirk's back, you began to hear explosions quickly approaching you from behind. So, in an attempt to avoid Bomb Boy's wrath, you had your familiar duck into a nearby tunnel and promptly ran out the other end, coming to another part of the forest. Or so you thought. After finding a good place to hide not that far from the tunnel you came out of, you and your Quirk hunkered down for what seemed like hours until the cold winter weather got to you. You ended up deciding to head back and face the worry of your classmates and the wrath of Mr. Aizawa, but at the very least, you could be warm. Until you attempted to find the tunnel you came out of, only to discover it mysteriously missing. After a brief panic, you tried to call one of your friends or your teacher and alert them to your situation, only to find that your phone didn't have any signal or any connection to the internet. Flash forward a few hours, days, weeks. You couldn't quite remember for some reason, and that scared you. You could tell that you had been out there for a while, seeing as how your ribs had formed across your stomach and your familiar had become weaker, although he still maintained his purple lion-like appearance. But just when you were about to lose hope, through the snowstorm bearing down on you this horrifyingly cold night, you saw what seemed to be light coming from somewhere. Your eyes instantly lit up as you began sprinting through the snow, running alongside your weak familiar. I see something. Abastus, I think we might be saved. You say happily, only getting a low but mighty groan in response. As you continued to trudge through the snow, you quickly realized that the light you saw was from a cabin, as your heart skipped a beat at the thought of shelter along with a warm meal, while whoever was inside gets help for you.
Don't worry, folks, I'm coming home!
You thought about your class as they must have been worried to death about you by now, and from using that thought, you persevered and continued marching on towards the cabin. As you quickly made your way over to the cabin, your hero training quickly forced you to stop and assess the possible situation.
If this cabin holds the person who made me get lost in the first place, I shouldn't charge in with all my cards on my chest.
You thought to yourself as you quickly thought up a plan.
If I'm not out in 15 minutes, come in, Vicious.
You spoke to your familiar. Grateful for the fact that he could understand you, and even more grateful for the fact that all those years of teaching him how to listen to you paid off in the end. As soon as you stepped up onto the wooden patio, you quickly began knocking on the door to alert whoever was inside to your presence.
Hello? I got separated from my group, and I've been wondering for God knows how long at this point. I needed help.
You shout at the door, praying to God that someone might be inside. Just when you began to lose hope, the door slowly crept open, revealing a large, inky black form silhouetted by the roaring fire behind them. And from said dark form, you could only make out a pair of eyes staring down at you.
Hello?
A voice called out from the darkness.
Please, I need help.
You managed to say, hoping that whatever this thing was would end up taking the bait. The pair of eyes scanned over your form, as if analyzing you before asking,
Are you alone?
which ended up reaffirming your suspicions of whatever the figure's hostile intentions might be. Although you were highly suspicious of the figure, you were still desperate for help.
Yes, I'm alone. Please help me.
You pleaded one last time with the shadow. I mean, what other options did you have? Would you attempt to continue to brave the winter wasteland on a low chance that you could come across another haven that didn't hold the same kind of psycho in front of you? After taking a few minutes to look you up and down again, the dark figure spoke.
Come inside. I have a warm fire that you could rest by.
You breathed a sigh of relief as the shadowy mass moved to the side to let you inside the small cabin. Quickly, you moved towards the roaring fireplace.
Oh, thank you so much.
You spoke through clattering teeth as you held your frozen hands to the fire.
It's no issue. I'm always happy to help.
The voice spoke, with an almost cheery tune in its tone.
Although, judging from your appearance, a warm fire isn't the only thing you're looking for.
The voice remarked, causing you to turn your head to look at the shadow, who was now sitting at the end of a table.
Yeah. I haven't eaten in days.
You spoke, signaling your need for a preferably warm meal.
Well then, if you want a meal, you'll have to play a game with me.
The voice remarked, causing your face to turn into one of concern and confusion.
Game?
Yes, a game that you and I can play. It gets so lonely around here, and a game would certainly help pass the time. And if you win, I'll make sure you're well fed and safe until your friends arrive to come to retrieve you.
The figure explained, with you finding it strange how he described the relationship between you and your friends, making you wonder if he knew anything about who you were.
please. I haven't eaten in days. Isn't there a phone I could use here?
And I'm sure you can go a few more hours without a meal. While I do have a phone, I doubt you will be able to use it on account of the blizzard going on outside.
The figure retorted with cunning in its voice. You knew that it knew that you were desperate. Desperate enough to play any game it wanted if it meant getting a meal. So with a heavy sigh, you rose to your feet and made your way over to the table where the being sat, to which you took a seat on the opposite side. You quickly spotted a clock sitting atop the wall with a time of 9:15.
All I need to do is play this thing's game for 15 minutes, and then Abastus can help me,
you thought to yourself as you turned towards the figure.
Fine. I'll play your game.
The figure leaned back in its chair and let out a deep chuckle.
Wonderful! And here I thought I'd have to throw you out back into the cold and let you starve to death.
It said, laying its cards out on its chest.
So what game are we playing? Cards? Poker? Mousetrap?
From the darkness of the figure, a pale, dirty, bandaged hand appeared and reached below the table.
I doubt you've ever seen a game like this before. Although I guess you could say that it's similar to Two Truths and a Lie.
Suddenly, the hand pulled out a large trunk with various stickers from various parts of the world plastered all over it. The hand then produced a key to which it unlocked the trunk and swung it open. Although, from where you were seated, you couldn't tell what was inside.
The game is simple. The best ones are. I'm going to show you a series of scenarios, and all you need to do is point out the one that you remember.
The figure explained, while plunging its hand into the large trunk and digging around in it.
So, what's that for?
You asked, curious while also becoming quite worried at whatever it might be trying to find. The rustling of the trunk stopped as it quickly pulled something out and placed it into what seemed to be its lap. Not before slamming the trunk shut again.
Imagine a series of hypothetical perfect lives lived by alternate versions of you, all neatly wrapped together in an anthology-like series. You shall face trials ranging from simply going out on a date to dealing with the devil and all of his misdeeds. So, as a show of good faith, let's start off simple. Kendo Itsuka, otherwise known as Battle Fist. She's currently a student of Class 1B of UA High, correct?
The figure asked, causing you to reel back slightly at the very much accurate information of your fellow student.
Yeah. How do you know that?
You two had bonded over being eliminated early on during the UA Sports Festival, which then led to both of you trading phone numbers. And then soon both of you acted as bridges of common ground for both of your classes.
Getting frustrated at the idea of how much this thing knew, you angrily replied,
Yeah. But how do you know this?
Oh, traveler. It's always important for someone like me to know these things.
The figure spoke before placing an eerily accurate replica of Kendo's face in the form of a wooden mask, its glowing eyes peering at you through the eye holes. Then, without a second word, the figure spoke again. This time,
Hey, traveler, I have something to tell you when you get back.
growing up, Kendo didn't spend time in the whole social game. She spent most of her time working on becoming a hero and improving herself physically. Although she did have friends and was always known to be the big sister type, she couldn't say she had any real experience going beyond just a friend with anyone. Unfortunately for her, the inexperience reared its ugly head when she met you during the sports festival. And from there, after both of your classes had transitioned over to the dorms, feelings for you began to blossom over time. Whether that be over a conversation where she became quite flustered, or merely spending time with you with butterflies forming in her stomach whenever you ended up studying together. While she did struggle with her feelings, she was always glad she had a network of friends to encourage and help her through these difficult times between the both of you. But every time she tried to confess to you, she ended up freezing and stumbling over her words, which led to her quickly changing the subject, all the while leaving an awkward feeling in the air between the both of you. After months of waiting and working herself up to the point where she could confess, she made an oath to herself that she would finally admit her feelings when you returned from a week of internship. And here she was, the day of your return, mentally preparing herself for both the scenario where you ended up rejecting her feelings, and the other where her feelings for you were reciprocated. Before she could prepare herself any further, she heard a notification pop up on her phone, only for her to discover a text from Mina that read,
Traveler's going to be here in 20 minutes. Get yourself ready and get your ass over here.
Mina had been acting as her love coach since she had been the receiver of most of her past school's love letters, along with the fact that she had a lot of experience in terms of handling love. Kendo looked at her phone and then back at herself in the mirror, to which she smiled firmly and picked up her phone to respond back.
Alright, I'll head over in a minute.
Kendo swiftly stood from her desk before running downstairs to her dorm's living room to see a couple of her friends sitting around.
Kendo, hey!
Yelled Tetsu as he ran over to greet Kendo, which he then whispered,
If you're not comfortable doing it, that's totally fine, you know?
Don't worry, Tetsu. I got this.
She spoke firmly, determination laced in her voice.
I've trained with Mina, and I know what I have to say. We just want you to know that we'll always be here for you if you ever need us.
Spoke Setsuna, placing a comforting hand on Kendo's back.
Thank you all. It means a lot to me that you would all be here for me.
I still don't understand why you don't go for it already. I understand that you may be nervous about it, but knowing Traveler, they've most likely noticed how you've been acting around them lately. So if you continue to put it off, you might lose them forever, and you'll never be able to live with yourself.
Spoke Monoma, earning himself a smack on the back of the head by Awase.
I don't think telling her that is going to help,
reprimanded Awase, dragging the now unconscious Monoma over to a nearby couch and flopping him on top of it.
Monoma has a point,
spoke Kendo, causing everyone in the room to turn and look to her.
It's apparent Traveler knows something is going on between the two of us. Whether or not they know my feelings for them is still in the air, though. My main fear is that if I admit my feelings to them, our relationship might fall apart, and we both end up going our separate ways.
Why wouldn't they like you? You're kind, beautiful, strong, and one of the best students in this school,
spoke Monoma confidently, jumping out of his unconscious reverie thanks to Awase.
Yeah! And you always pull us together when we want to strangle each other,
chirped in Tetsu.
Your light shines brightly throughout the class and the school,
added Ibara, joining the rest of her class in the dorm's living room.
Oh, you guys,
cooed Kendo, blushing madly.
It also gives us the best opportunity to infiltrate Class 1A and plan ahead of their schemes.
Monoma cringed after earning himself another smack on the head by Awase, interrupting his thoughts. Before another word was said, Kendo heard another notification pop up on her phone. She looked down to see another text from Mina.
15 minutes!
It simply read, causing Kendo to make her way to the Class 1A dorms quickly.
All you need to do is wait for them to get here, and then greet them at dorm entrance. Have a little conversation about their internship, maybe help them carry their stuff to their room, and once you're alone with them, BAM! That's when you strike like a cobra of love.
Mina happily coached Kendo, who was now pacing around the Pink Beauty's dorm room, while Mina, Aoyama, and Toru watched her.
I don't know anymore, you guys. Now that I'm here, I'm starting to get nervous,
spoke Kendo nervously, still pacing back and forth across the room.
Don't say that, Kendo,
Toru replied, rising to her feet and grabbing onto Kendo's shoulders.
You're a wonderful girl, and anyone would dream to be with you. And remember what we said during our sleepover? You all said that if I was a boy, you'd all have a crush on you. Besides, Aoyama figured out Traveler's type,
interrupted Mina, causing Kendo's eyes to perk up.
Wait, really?
She asked, slightly excited at the possibility of figuring out what kind of person you were.
Oui, darling. I went to go ask them the question, but ended up startling them, which led to them falling down a flight of stairs. But while they were being taken to go see Recovery Girl, I asked again, and they told me that they were into girls that could beat them up,
explained Aoyama, causing the whole room to erupt in laughter.
See, Kendo? You have nothing to worry about.
Mina spoke happily, leading Kendo over to the door.
Now get out there and go get yourself some of that traveler love.
Kendo had been waiting on the steps leading to the Class 1A dorms for 20 minutes, but you didn't show, which caused her to turn a little nervous. And all she had for company was a sleeping Todoroki next to her, lying on a rocking chair as he swayed back and forth.
They should be here by now. Maybe I should text them? No, that would ruin Mina's plan. But it's my love life we're talking about here. I should be able to do what I want. But Mina has much more experience than me.
Kendo continued to go back and forth in her mind, wondering what she should do. Turning a little impatient, she glanced at her phone.
Are you waiting for Traveler?
Yeah! Todoroki, I thought you were asleep.
Why would I be asleep outside?
Well, I figured since you didn't greet me when I walked out here.
Maybe I didn't want to talk to you.
Todoroki spoke surprisingly with bitterness, that Kendo couldn't even tell if he was joking. Even then, she was taken aback by it, but she was also taken aback even more so at a small smile crossing his face.
Kaminari has been teaching me sarcasm. It has been quite a fascinating experience working with him.
After that short explanation, Kendo sighed, relieved that the ice and fire hero in training didn't have a problem with her.
That's funny, but yeah.
Do you like Traveler?
Well, I don't. May. Who told you?
Nobody. But I got the feeling you liked them when I walked past Mina's room and heard your name followed by Traveler's, which was then followed by Mina screaming.
One thing Kendo could always count on was Shoto's bluntness and Mina's inability to keep a secret.
I'm guessing everyone knows.
Everyone save for Traveler.
Really?
Yes. We figured that the best person to talk about your feelings for Traveler would be the person who had the feelings in the first place.
Explained Todoroki with a small smile.
Thanks. But yeah, I'm waiting for Traveler.
Answered Kendo, while rubbing the back of her neck.
Well, then, good luck.
Spoke Todoroki as he stepped into the dorms, leaving Kendo alone outside.
Right.
Kendo really spoke mostly to herself, while she checked her phone again to see if there were any more updates from Mina. It had been a few hours since Kendo had begun waiting for you to arrive, and Mina was starting to get a little worried. Mina and a couple other of her classmates had attempted to either call or text you, but they never got a reply back. Mina knew that Kendo finally confessing her feelings for you was critical for her. She had to save up months of courage and determination to build up to this point, and she knew that if Kendo didn't confess tonight, she wouldn't try again. Which hurt Mina's heart even more as she attempted to check on Kendo, only to find her missing.
Hey, Kendo! Did you tell him?
Asked Tetsu as Kendo walked back into the Class 1B dorms.
Oh, what do you think?
She snapped, almost crying. Feeling guilty for yelling at her friend, combined with the fact that she felt like she was too late to confess, Kendo threw her dorm room door open so she could collapse in an emotional heap on her bed. Only to discover you placing down a trinket on her nightstand. You both stared at each other, like a pair of deer looking at the headlights of an oncoming truck. You managed to break the silence as you let out a nervous chuckle, before placing the trinket down on her nightstand.
Bad time?
Kendo, still in shock about the whole situation, wiped away the tears from her eyes before she spoke.
No, it's fine. What do you have there?
She asked, still slightly shaky in her voice.
Oh! That? I was doing some patrolling with the hero who took me in on their internship, and we happened to pass by a gift shop that had something that reminded me of you.
You explained, as Kendo took a better look at the small karate figure, chopping a board in half with his giant hands.
I love it.
Kendo chirped happily, holding the figure in the palm of her hand.
You okay, Kendo?
You asked, quickly noticing her puffy red eyes.
Yeah. A lot of us here got a little nervous when you went off grid. But that does lead me to ask, what the hell happened?
At the mention of your question, you laughed slightly awkwardly, rubbing the back of your head.
Well, funny story. I completely misjudged how long it was going to take for me to head back to the dorms, and by then my phone had died. But when I finally arrived back here, I figured why not just drop off the trinket in your room and wait to see your reaction to it. Well, I love it. Thanks, Traveler.
Kendo spoke happily with a smile while the both of you stood in her room in awkward silence when the laughter died. You managed to break the tension in the room, inhaling a breath as you spoke.
Well, I better head back. Everyone is probably worried about me. Traveler! Wait!
She nearly shouted, causing you to quickly turn around, alarmed.
I have something I need to tell you.
Yeah? Kendo? Slowly, Kendo attempted to form the proper words that have been weighing on her mind for the past few months. Only for her to say,
Glad to have you back. No, wait. What are you doing, you idiots?
She mentally cursed and yelled at herself while she continued to struggle to find the words she wanted to say. You slowly made your way over to her, growing concerned with whatever dilemma she was facing. Kendo?
Just say it, damn it!
She mentally cursed at herself again. Tears began to well up in her eyes once more.
No, I can't do it. I'm not Mina or Toru. I just can't come out and confess.
She thought to herself, beginning to find the whole situation hopeless, until she opened her eyes and saw you looking at her concerned.
I love you.
She spoke. And just as she did, she felt as if a weight had been lifted off of her chest. She felt the butterflies flutter in her stomach, up until she locked eyes with you, staring at her, shocked.
Oh God, Traveler, I'm so sorry.
Her apology was cut short as she felt a pair of lips smash into hers, causing fireworks to go off in her head. You quickly pulled away, staring into her eyes for just a few moments, chuckling to yourself, slightly awkwardly.
Too forward?
You cautiously asked her.
Nope.
She chirped happily.
Just what I was looking for. In fact,
she pulled you into another kiss. But before this romantic evening could go any further, she broke away and pulled you close into a warm hug.
I know we don't talk much as we should, but keep at it, and you'll beat its game,
she whispered in your ear.
What the fuck?
You yelled, slamming back into your seat as you quickly examined your surroundings, only to discover that you're back in the cabin, with this thing still watching you. Although it no longer wore Kendo's face. You continued to cough for a little while longer as you went over what the hell happened in your head.
It seemed so real. I remember feeling joyful, happy for me and Kendo's new relationship.
You thought, bringing a finger up to your lips while you remembered the feeling of Kendo's on yours.
What was that?
That was just a little taste of what is to come. An introduction of some sort. Something to get you used to the events to follow.
It explained.
No, not that. The thing that happened between Kendo and me. We were in love. Or at least it felt like it.
You spoke, leaning back in your seat, troubled at whatever you just experienced.
What you just experienced was, or was not, a memory of another traveler. Similar to that of tuning into a romantic comedy after watching a horror movie. The game ties in where you have to tell me whether or not what you just experienced actually happened to you, or is just another memory from another traveler.
Alright, so all I need to do is confirm that did or didn't happen?
Yes. And depending on your answer, I either throw you out into the cold, or I give you a warm meal.
I'm not in a relationship with Kendo. Or am I? It felt so real, like an actual memory of something that happened, but I can't risk being wrong.
You finished the thought to yourself while you turned to look at the figure.
I know Kendo fairly well. We did bond together over getting eliminated in the sports festival early on, but I think I would remember whether or not something like that would have happened. So, all in all, I'm guessing no. That didn't happen.
Correct! Well done.
It placed a large bowl of what seemed to be stew in front of you. A reward for a correct answer. You quickly dug in, almost forgetting your fork and spoon, as you nearly downed the whole bowl in a few gulps and chews. Soon the warmness of the meal spread through your entire body as you let out a happy sigh of relief. Nearly feeling a little sleepy while you temporarily forgot about your current situation.
It seems you enjoyed it quite well.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
You commented, not wanting to give the thing the satisfaction of knowing its cooking was good. Your eyes quickly drifted towards the clock sitting on the upper wall, expecting it to be a few minutes since you gave the order to Abastus to come bursting in around 15 minutes after you entered the cabin. You were only taken entirely off guard when you spotted that the time was 10 p.m.
What?
You managed to mutter out.
Traveler, I know you plan on becoming a superhero, or so you say. But there are certain regards to which you need to improve upon that no hero school could teach you.
The figure explained, terror building up in your heart.
And if there was one thing I had to say you needed to improve on, it's your lying.
Your heart dropped in your chest while you were rendered completely speechless, now at the mercy of whatever the hell this thing was. The dark figure's eyes bore down onto you, while you seemed to be unable to form any words that might be able to help you in this predicament.
You attempted to lie to someone that you knew nothing about and couldn't pick up anything about them. Well, since you need some help, I'm more than willing to tell you something about me. I hate lying. Fierce.
It spat, with an almost venomous tone in its voice. Using every amount of courage you had left, you managed to mutter out one word. Don't.
Don't. What? I already did it. Look in your bowl.
Your eyes fell towards the bowl you just ate from. You couldn't find anything, but quickly latched onto what seemed to be a piece of meat. With a shaky hand, you reached out into the bowl, picking the piece of meat out from it, only to fall out of your chair and begin retching heavily upon the realization of what just dawned on you. The piece of meat was a piece of skin, but not just any skin. The skin of what you found to be your familiars, and that you just ate a bowl of stew containing your best friend.
You said you wanted a meal. Should have specified what you wanted.
Why?
You angrily shouted, wanting to know the reason why you were forced to eat someone who had been there for you ever since you were a child.
You'll see. You'll see.
Coaxed the figure, confusing you even more. Those feelings soon turned into terror, while it reached his hand back into the trunk.
Now that you understand the stakes and rules, let us move on to the next round.
Thank you for tuning in to another fanfiction reading. If you like what I do or would just prefer to fall asleep to my voice, please hit that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to my channel. I would like to extend my thanks to Finkerton for actually having written this very long series for this channel. It's a little different. It is of the horror aspect, as would have been explained in the disclaimer earlier on in this video. But I'm not sure, but for those who do enjoy a little bit of horror here and there, there's little bits of dribs and drabs in this series. Fair warning though. Still otherwise, according to the format, you can either listen to the entire audio or you be able to choose the chapter with just the fluff in the middle. Or whatever's in the middle. Still, I do hope you enjoy this little series on the side. But again, thank you Finkerton for sending me this long series. I did really enjoy the read and I hope everyone else enjoys the read along with me. But thank you for listening. I hope to hear from you soon. Next we meet.